Now, here we
history
go.
of any of that. I have no history of any of that. So, good morning, everyone. And it's Friday. There's some amazing things that are happening out there right now. First of all, we're in May. The weather's getting better. All around the country, right? Even up in Virginia, you might see some sunshine up there. Amazing things happening. So we're in May already. Have you seen what your goals look like? Have you reevaluated those goals? 50 degrees right here, Shannon. Where's that, Shannon?
I'm up here with Tiffany. I'm in Norfolk, Virginia.
Well, enjoy it up there. Not for me. I need it warm. So great things are happening. We're seeing we're seeing an influx of interest rates dropping a little. We're seeing more inventory coming up for the buyers. We're seeing multiple offers on certain properties again. We're seeing the agents are getting busier. Desiree, congratulations with Liz's team getting your first one on the contract. Is so awesome. And the reason we know some of these things is because those are the ones who are being interactive with our GPS page. So if you got some exciting things, get on that page, start posting some stuff of what you, some great things, good referrals, go through it. But the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about leadership, and thank you, Curtis and Debbie and DJ for everything that you guys are sending me. By the way, everything that we talk about on leadership has not come from me. It was all from them. Here's what we need to be talking about. This is the next step forward. But who put that up there under my name? There's a sequence to leadership, right? There's a sequence, and most people think Curtis. It's gotta be Curtis. He just gave himself away. Look at him. Most people think of leadership as someone who's leading a Fortune 500 company, someone who's leading a massive organization. Well, the important thing is we have to understand, what are we as individuals and how are we leading ourselves? Why leadership may be the most important sales trait for you as an individual, whether you're on a team, whether you're running a team or not. So thank you guys for being here. This is going to be a great call, and you're going to learn a lot. And those of you who are running a team, I've been talking about this the last couple of times. Those of you who are running a team, I want you to think about two things: goals and standards. And whether you're running a team or not, you may get something out of this. So The Power of One, if you haven't read it, you got to go get it. Seriously, guys. He's going to be our speaker anyways at Shareholders, Ed Mylett, The Power of One More. So he talks about goals and standards. And if you're not achieving your goals, raise your standards. If your goals are falling, raise your standards. If your team is not succeeding, raise your standards. Look in the mirror. Do not look at your team. It's what you're doing. Are you interested in achieving your goal, or are you committed to achieving your goal? And this is where leadership, leading yourself, comes in. Okay. The second you put blame on a team member or someone else because you're not achieving your goal, you better go reevaluate yourself. Debbie's shaking her head yes on that. That's the most critical. It's the easiest thing to do, right? We're not succeeding at something. We want to go, well, if Debbie would have helped me, I wouldn't be in this position. Well, you know what, if that seller wasn't such a jerk, well, if the interest rates weren't so high, well, if there weren't so many realtors, blah, I could care less how many realtors are in the industry, honestly. I don't care if we end up with 7 million realtors. It will not affect my business at all. So there's things that we can control and there's things that we can't control. But what we can control is leading ourselves to the best version of ourselves. So Curtis, I'm going to turn this over to you. And I'm surprised you didn't click mute on me as you were preparing. So thank you for this topic.
real quick before we start, and this really ties into the leadership topic. I read something this week about home sales, right? Because if you look at the media, they are selling advertising. If you're looking at the media, they're selling advertising, right? Greatest recession ever. We're going into a crash, blah, blah, blah. We've been going into a crash for 18 months, right? But we're not, it doesn't seem to get there. But I saw a really interesting stat that really ties into leadership. So sellers aren't selling, right? They've got the first quarter data, right? Has been cleaned and published now that we're here in May. And sellers aren't selling. And they're puzzled about why sellers aren't selling, right? They've taken a breath because sellers aren't selling. Interest rates, that can't be why sellers aren't selling. Here's their concern, and this is where your leadership skills matter. Sellers aren't selling because they're afraid they won't be able to find a place to go. Because in 80% of the markets, the inventory is still so low that there's multiple offers. I had a friend of mine call me this week and say, yeah, I'm not going to sell because the market's terrible. I said, who's telling you that? He says, well, I go and look all the time and there's nothing on the market. I said, there's nothing on the market because it goes under contract in 30 seconds. He goes, you're kidding me. I'm like, yeah, that's why there's nothing on the market. So there's a misconception by sellers that the market may be terrible because that's what the media is talking about. As leaders, we need to show them and get them to believe that we can help them find their home, that we can help them find that opportunity, that we can help them. We need to press on the pain as to why they don't want to live where they're living, right? Because people want to move. Sellers want to move, but they need to be led. They need to be shown data. They need to have someone that's going to have confidence that says, I can find you a home. I can find you a home and we can get your house off. Listen, since it's still the seller's market, you have leverage and you can have an extended close. You can have post-close occupancy, right? Because there's so few homes on the market to allow time for your seller to find their next home. So this is where we need to step up as leaders to be able to lead the sellers that we meet with, or sellers that say, yeah, I'm going to wait till next year. Why? Well, you know, the market. Let me come over. Let me come over. Let me come over. Let me show you what's happening in the market, and then you can make your decisions. We need to step up as leaders because the sellers need our help, because they believe that they won't be able to find their next home. And we, of course, have the ability to help them find their next home, even in this market, right? So this is a great opportunity to build your leadership scripts to be able to help sellers recognize that now is a good time to sell, especially because the market's so tight, right? There's no inventory. They're still going to get a really, really good price for their home. So great small sliver to be able to practice your leadership.
So I want to, Coach Debbie, thank you for that, because that's so right. You're so dead on, because we have to be educators. Caitlin, I don't want to forget you up there. Go ahead and put your hand back up. I want to come right back to you in a second here, because it's so important that we, as leading our team, leading ourselves, leading our buyers, and leading our sellers. That's why we're embedding this word leadership, because this is what you are. You're in business. You're running a business. And the more you build your skill set in leadership, the better conversations you have, the better you can consult with your customers, the better you can improve your business. So everything that you can do, getting into leadership. How does leadership help in sales? Leadership helps in sales because it's the best trait that you can have to earn sales business, because you're actually having an intelligent conversation with the consumer about the market. You're learning the market. You're leading it by the conversation of what is positive. So Caitlin, go ahead. I wasn't ignoring you. I just wanted to throw that out there. Go ahead.
That's okay. So piggybacking on what Debbie was saying, I think one of my main issues that I've been having, not only are they saying that they can't find a house, like where are they going to live, sarcastically, they say, I just refinanced during COVID and my interest is like 2%. And if I buy something now, I'm going to be paying ridiculous on the interest. And so that's my main struggle on trying to get people to list now and purchase a new home. So they'd rather sit in a home that needs to be updated.
So can I help you with that, Caitlin? Listen,
yes, please.
We can only support motivated sellers. So whenever someone says those excuses, right? I have a low interest rate. I don't want to pay a high interest rate. And I'm concerned about finding my next home. My question would be, again, remind me why you would even consider moving. And they're going to say, well, we don't like our kitchen and we don't want to update it. The house is too big, too small. We don't like the neighborhood. Now, it might not be a negativity about their current house. It might be a positivity that we always wanted to live in that neighborhood, right? That was our dream when we moved in here, but we always wanted to live in that neighborhood. As leaders, we can't help them move until we understand their motivation for either disliking where they live or having a yearning to be somewhere else. So in Florida, we have a lot of people that say we want to move back with family. Like we're getting older, we want to move back with family. So I would acknowledge the two things that they said. And then I would ask them, the question is, well, how long are you going to delay? Is moving back with your family more important than an interest rate? By the way, have they looked at the homes that they can afford with their change in interest rate? Have they considered doing a refinancing on a home that they might purchase? We have to move them off of the reasons for them staying and move them on to the pain points or the dream that they're sitting on and squashing. So the pain points are, we want to downsize, right? It's too big of a house, takes too long. We want to travel more. We want to be in a condo. We have to, logic makes them think, but emotions make them act. So when we move them back to the emotion is, so you hate your home, but you're going to keep living here. Why don't we at least explore what it would look like to move? Let's go out and look at property in your price range with, financing that would approve. And then let's talk about potentially finding a seller where you could assume the mortgage, right? So you can assume that low interest rate. So this is where our leadership skill, when we talk about this is a skills-based market, the skill is we have to develop the skill of leading our clients to the pain points that they're currently experiencing or the dream that they're sleeping on. Does that make sense, Caitlin?
Yes, thank you.
And here's the thing. If that pain isn't big enough or that dream is big enough, we're still not taking the listing. But if we continually say, maybe today I say, well, you always wanted to live in that neighborhood. How long have you had that dream? Oh my gosh, it's 8 years since we moved in here. We moved in here because we couldn't afford that neighborhood. So let me ask you, can you afford that neighborhood? Yeah, now, yes, but my interest rate and my, it's going to cost more now. Great. Let's go look at homes in that area and let's actually see what's on the market and let's see what that interest rate would look like. And they might say no. But in 30 days, I'm going to call them back and say, are you tired of living in that house yet? Are you ready to move forward on your dream? And if they say no, I'm going to wait 30 days and call them back again and say, how long are you going to give up on your dream? What if you never move there? What if interest rates never go back down? Are you going to say you're going to give up your dream and never move to your dream neighborhood? Right? So this is where having script practice with your peers around these issues where sellers or buyers struggle to move forward in this market, practicing scripts and what to say can really help you move your skill forward and start to move your buyers and sellers. Does it make sense, Caitlin?
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, what Debbie did there is she led her sellers into the right conversation. So that's fantastic. And that's the beauty. Liz had put a market report in. I encourage everyone, especially in the Orlando board, there's market reports. Take a look at that, because that's going to tell you the true story. And when you're sitting with a seller, sit with them and show them that. Sit with them with a market report. See, what you tell them is what they hear. What you show them is what they really go, here's factual information. Because we haven't probably earned the right to most to tell them what's going on, right? But when they see something in writing, that market report should be with you at all times, with buyers and sellers every single month. You should be having that as far with your buyer consultation and your listing consultation.
And a great tip with that, especially what you said about tell versus show. I actually show them report and I point out the numbers that plead my case the most, right? And I'll say to them, last month it was this, or last year it was this year it was this. What do you think that means? And then I sit there. And it may take them 30 seconds because their brain is thinking about, what does that mean? Oh my gosh, what that means is the inventory is selling really, really quickly. And the value is almost the same as it was a year ago. Now, they may struggle for 30 seconds and not really be able to interpret what you're asking them, but then jump in and help them. But let them think about those numbers and think about what that means, because then when you finally do say, well, what that means is prices are still going up. They're up by 5% over last year. So whatever you were going to sell for last year, you can sell for more. Now, maybe that's not your number. And they're still selling in 30 days. Oh my gosh. Isn't that fantastic? Right? Go ahead, Liz.
I was going to say, and one other tidbit is you have to be able to understand the numbers to be able to explain it. So if you look at that report and you don't understand what you're reading, you're not going to be able to explain it to a seller. So, you know, you should be able to look at it and say, historically, over the past 2 years, this is what interest rates were doing. And now, as we see, when we look at the days on market, you're setting the right expectations with your sellers. Like, hey, we're not, you know, to a year and a half ago, we were able to see that things were, 21 days on the market before, and be able to explain the numbers, where now it's taking about 50 days to go under contract. So just being able to understand that and show them, hey, just as many actives we have on the market, we have just as many pending. So it goes to show that we're still in the seller's market. So you need to be able to explain that. And I can tell you, it has transformed the way that I have conversations with my sellers. And I take it to every single listing appointment, and it changes the game. So hopefully that helps.
And if you're not sure, grab a market report, grab a script partner, sit down together and work it out. Grab a mentor, grab a leader, sit down. I promise you, if you sit down and look at those numbers and ask yourself a question, what does this mean last year's to this year? What does this mean last year to this year? You will step by step be able to figure it out. And we all have favorite numbers, right, Liz? We end up talking about the same things. And once you figure out what that dialogue is, it's easy to repeat, right? You know, where to look on the report, where to point out, where to highlight. Depends on whether I'm talking to a buyer seller and what their challenge is, right? Which number I'm going to pick out. But Ted asked where you get the market report. Every single MLS has reports. Now, the state of Florida probably emails you market data monthly because we're members of the Florida Realtors or your state realtors. They email a report monthly. You just need to look at it. Or number two, you can go into your MLS and they all have reports. You can go and pull them to get that data.
Yeah, you definitely want to look at those reports when you're meeting with buyers and sellers. Keep it with you at all times. It's important. Curtis, you want to dig in? I love how you mess with my name the whole time.
I can't help it. I'm just gonna full transparency for about the last, I don't know, 20 minutes. All I've been doing is changing Tom's name. Why? because I feel like acting like a child today. I don't know about you, but yeah. So anyway, no, my apologies. Deb, thank you for that. Tom, thank you for that. You guys kicked in perfectly. You know, Deb, we've got 10 things. Tom, you put it out there, 10 things why leadership may be the most important sales trait. And Deb actually said the very, very, very first one, which was to inspire and to motivate others. And Caitlin, I think, brought up her challenge or the challenges that she's been having. And Debbie hit that sucker right on the head and nailed it. It is about influencing them to help them make a decision. And there are multiple ways that we can do that. And they need us now more than ever before to help them do that. And as we've said in the past, if not, you know, we leave them to, you know, Deb asked a great question. Well, where'd you hear that information? Listen, if it's not us, they're getting it from the media. They're getting it from unreliable sources and things that just quite honestly aren't true, right? So that was number one, perfect. So then it says also salespeople need to set an example, that they must lead by example and demonstrate integrity in everything that they do. I'm going to open that up to you. What would be a great example of demonstrating integrity in, I don't know, the real estate world or our everyday lives?
Doing what you say you're going to do.
I like it. Who was that?
Heather.
Thank you, Heather. If not, we were going to sit here in silence until somebody answered. And we had at least until 9:30. So
Well, I
thank
saw
you. No,
Tom-
that's a
I
perfect
saw
example.
Tom try to unmute, but I muted him and he started to talk. I wouldn't let him. That was me, Tom. We're letting them talk, Tom. We sound great. We love to talk, but this is about them.
So Deb set an example on how you shut Tom down. That was it. That was perfect. High integrity right there. Shut Tom down. Cut him off. Just kidding. All right.
And his
Hey,
mouth was moving too. I saw him talking, but he had just unmuted. I muted him. He started talking and I'm going, oh my God, that's hilarious.
Steve Pugh, looks like you want to say something. You want to come off of mute?
All good today, Curtis. All good so far. I'm getting there.
All right.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for being here.
We got
Lizette, you
Lizette.
raised your hand.
Yeah. Hey,
Hey,
Lizette.
hey, good morning. So I think when I think about integrity as for myself, I often think about what is it that nobody sees me doing that makes me, I make the right choice. I do the right thing no matter what. It's doing the right thing when people don't see you, what matters most. You know, because sometimes I do it. I get concerned about looking good, right? Sometimes and fighting with the ego, but always putting first in the mind, in my thought, what am I doing behind the scenes in closed doors and private conversation and doing the right thing all the time. And I think about that as integrity.
I love that. Thank you for sharing, Lizette. That is a great example of what we're actually talking about. And I believe living by that is just incredible. So thank you for sharing. Appreciate you. Tom, I don't know about you, but on my sheet, number 3 got cut off. I don't know what number 3 is.
I get number 3.
All right.
Salespeople need to be decisive. Leaders need to make difficult decisions quickly, especially in sales where opportunity can be lost if action isn't taken promptly. And I think that decisively comes down to having those scripts practiced so that when your buyers or sellers give you objections, you can be decisive about responding because you know exactly how you're going to respond and exactly how you're going to address it. Because it is true. If you're meeting with a seller and they're giving you objections and you've not practiced how to overcome them, an agent that may have that skill can come behind you and take that listing. So being decisive, is important. It also says making difficult decisions quickly. I'm going to throw it out there. What sort of difficult decisions do we have to make that benefit if we make them quickly?
Learning to let go quick. If something's not working, move on. We often dwell on like, oh, I need to, like, you gotta be, I understand being like relentless, but sometimes you gotta move on. It's not in the one, it's actually in the 20 calls, in the 100 calls. If this seller said no, move on to the next one. Cause you're gonna, the faster you get no's, the faster you'll get to that yes.
Taking the emotions out of it. Deep tells me that all the time. Take the emotions out of it, figure out the problem, and you'll be fine.
Especially in negotiation or those last 2 weeks before closing, when the S hits the fan and everybody's freaking out and the lender's not stepping up and then the appraiser's not stepping up, and where, the seller gets wonky because the buyer asked for a last minute thing. And you're thinking, that's ridiculous. I can't believe that buyer. Take the emotion out. This is what the buyer asked. You can present it to your seller. Seller can get upset. You can say, look, you can get upset. It's just a request. It's a yes or no. This is what they're asking. It's a small request. You may think it's unfair. You may think it's unjust, right? So it's being that decisive, taking your emotions out quickly so that you can lead. You can't lead if you're emotional. If you have an opinion about what the buyer said or what the seller said or what the agent said or what the lender said, if you have an opinion and emotion about that, you decrease your leadership ability in that minute, right? And it may be absolutely ridiculous. It may be unbelievably stupid. But if you let your emotion get in there, you lose your ability to lead. And they could still be ridiculous. You just can't let your emotion get in there.
Awesome. Hey, Tom, it looks like you want to listen. I know you're dying to say something. Why don't you take number 4?
Communicate, guys. Listen, thank you for muting me. Debbie, you were so fast on that. You knew something was going to come out of my mouth. When it goes silent, I'm like, I want to trigger to help, but you know what? They're so awesome on that. So
well, anyway. I saw your mute unmute.
Yeah.
I saw it unmute and I'm like, he's going to sit there for about 5 seconds after he unmutes before he moves his mouth. And I just real quick.
So, and we're going to share all these 10 things with all of you people, all of you guys. So salespeople need to communicate.
Now you're frozen.
The Zoom gods.
Oh my gosh, the Zoom gods are in effect.
That is hilarious.
Oh my.
Screenshot him because he looks like he's blowing
karma.
kisses.
He's like,
that's karma.
somebody screenshot it quick.
That is great. You think he did it on purpose? He's trying to play a joke like April Fool's was last month.
He's gonna blame you guys.
He might.
It's Cinco de Mayo.
You can't make this stuff up.
You can't make this stuff up.
Angela, I love that.
And now he's gone. Oh well.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah,
so
take it.
Can I add to that?
You can. Yeah.
So in communication, it was really awesome with what Debbie just said previously and how we move forward in better communication. Even if the other co-broke or the seller or the buyer do not see our point of view, don't let yourself not be decisive and still communicate and have a contingency plan. I mean, that's what happens in the last 2 weeks of a transaction when you're getting to close, because I kid you not, stuff gonna hit the wall. Trust it. Liz has heard about it this week. Everybody's heard about it this week of stuff that's going on. And it's okay to have a face-to-face with your people or a Zoom with your people and just say, hey, where can we do a contingency plan? What would that look like if you couldn't get this done? Could I ask bigger questions to make sure that I'm hearing their emotions and easing their fears? Because that's my job. You know, and if anything is being of disservice to buyer or seller during a transaction, nip it in the bud with facts and non-reactionary comments and communication. You know, so that makes a big, huge difference. Tom's
Awesome.
computer crashed.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Lizette, did you raise your hand again?
Yeah, I also wanted to add, I was reminded, see, so sometimes people think you've been in the industry. No, you got to be reminded. When you have something hit the fan or happen, guess what? That means you don't have enough stuff in your pipeline. So by result and by default, that means you're not lead generating enough and you're not doing what you need to be doing. If we know this, some of us that have done X amount of closings, we know there's always one a year that is going to cancel, and we know this, it's by default. So why are we stressing over one if we know this is the more you do, there's going to be one, right? There's more possibilities of problems too. So if you are focused on one hitting the fan or whatever, then that means we don't have enough in our pipeline. Because when you have enough in your pipeline, if one falls, well, you know what? It happens, move on.
Right on. Thank you, Lizette. She said it, not me. Get more stuff in your pipeline. I love it. All right. Number 5, salespeople need to build trust. Here's what it says. Trust is essential in sales, and it is equally important for leaders. Salespeople who are leaders build trust by being transparent, honest, and authentic. In what other ways might we be able to build trust?
Show vulnerability.
Say that again.
Show vulnerability. Sorry, the words, I'm Spanglish. Vulnerability. Sorry. You know, you're human. Hey, I hopped on the team meeting today. My husband woke up with a migraine, his PTSD. Hey, I'm 2 minutes. It's okay. Be vulnerable. You know, you're trying to look good, look perfect all the time. People are like, I don't know. I hear people, oh, I don't know. They look fake. You know, just be real.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Anybody else?
I would say being honest, because sometimes you have to tell them things that they don't want to hear, but it's the truth and they recognize that and they appreciate it.
Awesome. You're right. Thank you, Haiti. Anybody else? One more.
Deliver bad news quickly. Deliver bad news. Now, bad is subjective, right? I even take the bad out. You know, lender needs another week. Lender needs another week. Call that other agent before you do anything else in the day and say, lender needs the other week. Agent might freak out, blah, blah, blah. Look, it is what it is. I'm the messenger. That's what the lender called me. I'm not making this up. I'm not delaying another week. The lender needs another week. Is your seller going to sign an extension? It's a yes or no. It's a yes or no. Yes or no. I'm going to send over the extension. Lender needs, why does the lender? They may often need, why is the lender need another week? And I would have already asked the lender that question. What has slowed down to, you know, provide that? Well, actually the appraisal was done on time. We were supposed to get it by a deadline. It was delayed. Then the guy who was supposed to review the appraisal was out for 2 days, and I apologize. Okay, so now here's what happened. The appraisal is slowing it down. They believe as long as it appraises that everything else looks good. Can we extend the closing a week, or can we extend the time for accept a mortgage approval a week, whatever it is we're asking for? Deliver it quickly, right? Deliver it to both parties quickly.
Thank you, Deb. So Tom's back. Tom, you want to take number 5?
Yeah, definitely. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened, and it's a MacBook. It just shut down. Debbie, are you on my computer too? Salespeople need, well, that's build trust. Salespeople need to be adaptable. In sales, circumstances can change quickly, and leaders need to be adaptable to these changes. You need to pivot. The ability to pivot quickly and adjust plans is crucial for success. This conversation I was having with someone yesterday, I said, stop asking for validation before you make a decision. You're a leader in your own business. make the decision and learn from it, whether it's good, bad, or right or wrong. Stop calling for validation on what you already know needs to happen, because that time lapse is gonna hurt you. So pivot quickly, be adaptable. And right now, I mean, that right there is the most critical component in our industry right today. Pivot quickly, make quick decisions. So stop
Thanks,
asking for
Tom.
validation.
No, that's great. Deb, you want to take 6? Or wait, we're on 7.
Strategic. So salespeople must think strategically and develop plans that will help them achieve their goals. This requires leadership skills such as vision, creativity, and the ability to think critically. You know, as the CEO of your company, whether you're a single agent, you're leading a team, it's your role to think about what is your strategy to hit your goals. What is your strategy to get better at helping sellers? What's your strategy you are the problem solver. You are the CEO of your organization, and you are the problem solver of your organization. Your organization has a problem. By the way, if your organization has a problem and you're a single agent, then you need to have a talk with that person and help them think differently, right? Because you are leading, even if you're leading yourself. So how can you think more strategically, especially in a market that's in change, right? We're in a market that's in change. How can we think? Just give me an example of thinking strategically for your business. Lizette, I see your hand up. I don't know if it's a new hand or an old hand. You're muted, honey. We can't hear you.
Oh, no, it was about, I was going to say something, but I don't know which one of the one I applied, but I can say it at the end.
So what can we do? Give me an example of thinking strategically for your business right now.
I think it all comes down to a schedule at the end of the day, right? I think that many of us it's an employee mindset. We've come from jobs where we clock in, clock out, we get paid, we get a reward, and then we move into the entrepreneurial world, and we tend to be reactive for a while before implementing like a set schedule. And then you've got to systemize your habits. Like if you're in appointments with buyers and sellers and you see or feel yourself doing the same things over and over again, those are the things that need to be systemized so that you can use them strategically in your business to help with conversion. I think that's the biggest thing, I think, is the schedule and sticking to it and honoring that commitment.
I love that you said that a schedule is actually a strategy, right? Because we do all come from the employee world and we don't have anybody looking over our shoulder. And if we can't create the discipline ourselves, then we either have to get a peer partner, a mentor, or coach to help us get disciplined if it's a skill that we haven't developed yet. So
yeah, and do it quickly and don't let too much time lapse. I think that's the biggest thing. If we ask, I mean, and I'm not perfect, right? But if you ask, 80% of agents, show me your schedule, they don't have one. So I think that's something that would really help if they could spend a day or 2 days, putting in their 2 to 3 things that are going to move their business forward and just focusing on those things consistently and following that schedule, they'll see their business turn around.
Yeah, I love that. Lizette, is your hand back up?
Yeah, on this topic, and saying about strategy, I had to process on that one. But bouncing off what Steve Pugh said, building a schedule. And part of that is making a list of what is negotiable and non-negotiable. And I go back to the one thing, that book is amazing. If you want to talk about strategies, read that book. It really pins down to what is needed to do anything in your business or life, and creating a list of what are non-negotiable. So if you got to pick up your kids at 3:30, you can't leave them there, right? I can't leave them hungry at 5 o'clock. That's a non-negotiable. So then you build your business around that, right? Lead generating from 8 to 11, whatever. So that way at 3, you did your job and you can leverage a showing assistant or you can leverage whatever, et cetera, et cetera. So I think building a schedule and also learning what are non-negotiables. And then from that, plug in the things you need to do. to hyper focus, build your business.
I leave my kids there all the time. Is that, what are you talking about?
Oh, no wonder I get that call. I'm on that list. Like, hey, who do you call? Hey, Steve Pugh has to pick up his kids, you know? Can you come pick them up? I love it. I love it.
Awesome. Next one, Tom, you want to take the next one?
Sure.
My favorite, my favorite, my favorite, my favorite one.
This is going to resonate with a lot of people because it's what you want, but you don't want to commit to. And it's pretty sad that we all get into this. And I'm one, I'm going to be vulnerable and humble. The accountability is something I push back on a lot as well. So accountability, guys, being accountable. Salespeople need to be accountable. Leaders take responsibility for their actions and are accountable for the outcomes of their decisions. Salespeople who are leaders hold themselves accountable for achieving their targets. What happens is, and what I'm seeing in the real estate industry is you want accountability, but you push back on it. You want accountability, but you make excuses why you can't do it. And then when you're not succeeding at the goal that you desire, like a Steve Pugh who pushes, he pushes because he cares. He pushes because he wants you to succeed at a higher level. And if you choose not to be pushed or accountable, stop asking for it. And if you choose to accomplish a goal, but you don't want to be accountable, you know what? Stop blaming others. Go look in the mirror. So accountability is, I mean, pause, reflect, and progress. Pause. Where am I at? Reflect and progress.
At the end of the month, when you're doing your month review, because I know as leaders you're doing that, would you hire you for the job that you just did in the last 30 days? If you were running your company and not driving the company, if you were running it, would you hire you for the next 30 days to do the job that you did in the last 30 days? And that's for most of us, for me, very often it's no. But what I use that is to reflect on where were the gaps? What do I need help with? How do I change what I didn't do well in the last month so that I can be better in the next month, right? Would you hire you for the job of running your real estate business? Did you do the job you were hired for in the last 30 days?
Tom, I love what you said there, man. Pause, reflect, progress. That's awesome stuff. I've said this before, like professionals will seek out accountability. Amateurs will avoid it. So, anybody on this call, if you want to get serious, go find that accountability. We had one of our team members was struggling to hit contacts, and he had $100 bill on his workstation. And I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Well, I'm keeping it in front of me as motivation, while I'm making my calls." And he was still struggling. So I took the $100 and I said, "You make your 20 contacts, you get this $100 back, or I'm buying the team lunch tomorrow." And sure as heck, he hit them 20 contacts yesterday, boy. So if that's what you've got to do, then find somebody, go seek it out, and you'll be fine. But go find that accountability and put yourself in a pressure situation,
and when you just said pressure, what makes a diamond? It's the pressure, right? It's the pressure. There's beautiful things that happen when you start feeling the pressure and being accountable. The rewards are amazing. Most people want to go, "Hey, yeah, but that person has a team and that person this," but you know what? They don't know the grind behind the scenes. They don't know the beginning states of the frustration and the obstacles and the learning lessons. If you're around this group, most of us have experienced every horrific situation in real estate, every horrific thing that's happened in a crash of a market. So stop making excuses, be accountable, and get everything that you deserve, because at the end of the day, you have to know that you are responsible for what happened that day, not anybody else. Anyway. Number 9. Want to go into it? Do we have a hand up? I didn't see.
Hey, and if anybody wants accountability, message me, call me. I'll hold people accountable. No problem.
And that's being kind. So the first time that they're not
Yes,
accountable
sir.
for the next call, tell them they're done. That's, you have to cut them quick, right? Because they're taking your time
Mm-hmm.
and they're not being accountable by showing up the next time. It's like, done.
Speaking of accountability, Steve, how are your attraction calls going?
They are going good, man. Don't put me on the spot, Deb.
Hey, nice job, by the way.
Love you,
with Marcus.
Steve. Love you,
Yeah.
Steve. Listen, listen, accountability is love. If you didn't care about someone, you wouldn't
Yeah.
hold them accountable.
Well, no, it's and for people on the call, I don't want to take it in a different direction. I hid back in production because I was getting a lot of rejection and I was struggling. But I recommitted, right? That's it. Happens to all of us. So thank you for asking. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Steve, for sharing. And that leads right to the next one. So it says number 9 is salespeople need to be resilient. Sales is a tough profession and leaders need to be resilient and able to bounce back from setbacks and failures. Pretty sure we don't need a big, deep explanation on that one,
Punch me in the face and I'm getting up and I'm getting right back up.
right?
Hey,
Like,
it's
that's
a
it.
time where you can reach out to a peer, right? If you've had a rejection, if you've had a challenge, if you've had a struggle, reach out to a peer, get it off your chest so that you can, like Lizette said earlier, if you have 4 deals in the pipeline and one falls apart, not a big deal. If you have 0 deals in the pipeline and one falls apart, huge deal. The solution is get more deals in the pipeline, right? The solution is it doesn't hurt so bad if it's not the only one.
I think real quick too, Deb, is if, you know what I mean, people ghost you or they become non-responsive or people don't do what you want them to do, we tend to get frustrated. Oh, this isn't working. I give up, I'm quitting. It's, you know, when I ask the team, you want quality leads or quantity leads, right? Oh, I want quality leads. Well, how do you get quality leads? You got to go through the quantity. So in terms of resilience, I guess you just got to, and I've said this before, when you generate, you don't have to tolerate. I think a lot of agents will get focused on these 2 clients that are buying next summer, you know what I mean, or buying in 6 months from now. You just got to generate. You've got to keep being out there and touching on people and lead generating, so you don't have to tolerate. You find the quality amongst the quantity.
Liz, did you want to say? Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and it goes back to taking the emotion out of it, right, guys? Like, they may not be responding to us because of a them situation. Like, it's not about us, it's about them, and always keeping that mindset. Like, hey, maybe they don't want to reach out to us because their credit sucks and they can't buy right now and they're embarrassed. It's not about us. Take the emotion out of it, figure out, be solution based, figure out, hey, I'm just here to help. What can I do to help? If they need somebody to talk to, if they need to get them with, you got to be a problem solver. So Stevie, I love that you brought that up because it's so important to bring that back full circle to just take the emotion out of it. And just like you said, keep lead genning. Stop getting stuck up on the 2 people that are going to buy next year. We need to be talking to people now so that we're built like, hey, they're going to become a buyer in 2 years. So you're fueling that pipeline all the time.
That's good, Liz. That is good. You take the emotion out of it and don't take it personally, right? I've had instances in the past where, you know, I've written an offer or sent an offer through DocuSign, or we've had team members and oh my God, these people are ghosting me. I'm getting da. And come to find out they were on an appointment or they were out of town for a day. But you take it internally and you like second guess yourself. So that's good stuff. Mm-hmm. Going, Liz?
And we also, like, the other thing, bouncing on what you're saying, Steve, is that the other perception is reality. So I've seen that a lot. Like, somebody will say, oh, but you know, they haven't called me back in 2 hours. Well, the thing is that the way you live life at the rhythm you live it is not the same that everybody's rhythm. You know, you got to get out of yourself if somebody doesn't answer right away, and setting up the right expectations for all of that has to be talked about at the beginning, because sometimes your buyers don't run as fast as you do. You know, they have work, they have kids. You gotta, find out what their rhythm is like, so you're not having to stress and hover over, she hasn't called me back or signed that form in 2 hours.
That's very
Learn
true.
Learn to tango with, when you're dancing salsa, you're doing a partner, you got to go to the rhythm of the person. Learn to dance with how people dance. It's not on your rhythm, it's on theirs.
Very
Just don't
true.
dance with me, because you'll have to figure all kinds of rhythms.
Oh, Lord. Lost cause.
And also, we've heard this before, but just because they don't respond, it doesn't mean that they don't hear you or see you, right? So just keep doing what you're doing.
Hey, Steve, it sounds like you're talking to you.
Thank you, Debbie.
You're welcome. Listen, it's true. We all tell the story. Like we call the people after the open house. We had great conversations. They don't answer.
Yeah.
Maybe if we're lucky, we call them again on Wednesday, but we probably have given up because they didn't answer. But when we call them again on Wednesday and they don't answer, they're like, that's a story in our head. Listen, if not, I'm not buying a house today. Calling the realtor back doesn't make the top 100 things that I need to do today. Doesn't mean I don't like them. Doesn't mean I don't care about them. Doesn't mean I don't want to work with them. It just means you aren't anywhere near my priority. Have a million things to do today. I'm only going to get to do 100 and you're in the million part. So don't tell a story. Listen, if they're not answering the phone, how long does that follow-up take? 15 seconds? Hey, it was great seeing you at the open house. You said that you may be curious about a market analysis. Love to ask you a few questions. Give me a call back. No call. Wednesday. Hey, just touching base. I know you said you were interested in the market analysis. You're probably really busy. You can call me and text me with your address, and I'd be happy to do it for you. No answer. A week later, you text them. Hey, I don't want to bother you. You said you were interested in market analysis. There's some really cool things happening in the market right now. I think it's a great time for you to figure out what your value is. Message me back. If they don't answer, don't tell yourself a story. Put them in your database, schedule a follow-up with them every 2 weeks, and keep following up until you drop dead or they tell you to drop dead. One of the two, because how much does a non-response touch cost you? 10 seconds. Don't tell the story that they're not interested or they don't like you. You're making that up. Now, maybe they don't like you, but you don't know for sure until they answer your call or text. So you may as well stop telling the story and just put them on your follow-up. Put them on the follow-up, set them up on a drip, keep following up with them, because it doesn't cost you anything to do that follow-up, right? And to not tell that story.
Hey, Curtis, what's the last one? Number 10.
Well, hang on a second. I gotta tell a story real quick about a story that I told myself. Okay. Yeah, no, seriously. So while I don't sell real estate, I do receive referrals. And I got a call a couple of months ago from somebody that referred me a deal. Guy's moving from Seattle to my area, like $1 million. He's coming in, I don't know, the beginning of May. And he wants my wife and I to show him some property, blah, blah, blah. So of course I stay in touch with them. We're leading up to the date, real good contact, right? We're texting, we're emailing. He's saying, I like that. I don't like that, all the things. Then all of a sudden, about a week ago, because you're supposed to be here this week, about a week ago, I reach out. I says, hey, let's get on the phone. Let's put some final touches on this. I know you're coming in next week. Let's be prepared so we can rock and roll. Silence for days. And I'm texting and I'm calling and I'm emailing. Silence. I'm telling myself a story. The stories begin, right? He found somebody else. He's this, that, ba, 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 ba. And I think it was like yesterday or the day before, he reaches out. Curtis, so very sorry I'm not getting back with you. My wife lost her job. Things have changed. And while we're not going to be able to purchase right now, we will purchase later. My apologies, blah, blah, blah. But leading up to that, because I'm counting the money. $1 million, 3%, 30 grand. Woo, guys come in. Right? Tell him, but the story started to happen when I didn't hear from him. So I love what Deb was saying. Don't tell yourself these stories. We're all guilty. Just stop that shit and whatever and move on, because the story is not the same. The story is not what we make it up to be, ever. It never is. It's never the story we're telling ourselves, ever. Don't do it. All right. Sorry, Tom. I just had to share that real quick. Whew. I lost 30 grand. Just kidding. You know I didn't. I never had it to begin with.
Exactly. You can't lose it if you never had it.
I didn't have it. Yes, Lizette, are you saying something?
I'll let Tom do number 10. I know he's probably anxious, but I just wanted to say something that's bobbling in my head about leadership and all the stuff we're talking about, but I'll let him finish.
I was just gonna say, I wanted you guys to get all 10, and then I'll share the link in here as well. Here's the most important thing that as salespeople and leading ourselves and everything else that we neglect. And you ready? Becoming the best learners we can possibly be. Salespeople need to be continuous learners. Successful salespeople and leaders are always learning and developing their skills while focusing on continuous improvement. You need to make an investment in learning continuously. It is the one thing that is most neglected by salespeople, by so many, and myself. I think I might have invested, I don't know, close to a lot of money last year between coaching and conferences and teaching and everything. I'm going to say it was well over $25,000. And as I didn't see the results immediately, I'm reaping the rewards now. Okay. So continuously learning. So.
Lizette?
Okay, all right, so my turn. All right, thank you, Tom.
Jesus,
on
you're as
break.
bad as we are. She's like, I want to talk.
Yeah, no, I've learned. I took a interpersonal communications class in college, and it still resounds in my head, learning to really listen instead of trying to answer, right? So, okay, so one thing I want to say, I think a lot of times I just want to put it out there, the accountability part. I think a lot of time creating a culture in your environment, when I see agents and when things don't go like work, and this is like a high school thing, right? We have friends and then we're constantly complaining that our friends are not loyal, this and that, because we unconsciously ask for fakeness, right? We don't want, I say all the time, oh, I don't want fake friends, but really, when you have people always patting you on the back, oh yeah, then you know that something's not right there. You need that when you have that friend that, oh man, I don't want to answer her call, I know what she's gonna say. That's the friend you need to have next to you. That's the one that's telling you everything that you do wrong, that's constantly pushing you to do better and saying, hey, you could, but I think subconsciously we're still at that high school stage that I just want to be liked and I want people to say good and pretty things for me. And you got to get over that mental hurdle of 15 years old that guess what? You want real love. You want to bring more money to the table. You want to buy your kids this, that, do all these things. Then you got to find all those people that you really, I'm not pick all those ones, the ones that they're going to you don't like to listen to them, that they're going to criticize you. Those are the ones you need next to you as your friends. Total opposite from you. You like blue, they like red. Those are the ones you need to be your friends. And create that culture. Stop complaining and blaming everybody else when you don't got business. You start gossiping about how it's not working, EXP, that's another thing. Listen, stop blaming everybody else. Be accountable. Those are my 2 cents. Those are my 2 cents.
Preach, Lizette, preach. Love it.
Yeah, she's tough. Trust me. I hear from her almost every day.
Listen, you don't want to know the things I've done, and I'm not going to complain. I know people that have worked harder than me. I know there's people that have worked harder than me and done it harder than me. I get it, but yes.
Curtis, you want to close out or?
I think he bounced already. He said, happy Cinco de Mayo. I have to go. So
Yeah, and
listen,
I-
leadership is like the last thing. We've all run offices, right? And we've all led agents. Well, Tom and me and Curtis and DJ have all run big offices. Steve too. And there's leadership training all the time. And it was the most difficult training to get agents to go to. The most difficult. They didn't want to go. They didn't see why should they go and learn about how to be a better leader. And we would sit, all of us, me, Tom, Curtis, DJ would sit at leadership training and complain to each other how difficult it was to get our agents to come to this. And here we are, and how much value it would have been to them because they don't recognize that leadership isn't about always leading. We're leading our buyers and sellers every day. We are leading the other agent. We are leading the lender. We are leading the photographer. We are leading everyone. And when we build, and most of us weren't blessed to grow up. My parents were great. I can't say that they conscientiously taught me any leadership skills. They did teach me some unconscious leadership skills, but what I learned is there's huge gaps in what I understood about leadership. I was an unconscious leader. I didn't know how to lead or what I was doing. And so when I purposefully decided to learn about leadership and had the opportunity at the organization I was with to take all this leadership training, we always marveled at why agents wouldn't go to the leadership things. Like they just wouldn't. And it was so valuable and would change their business if they leaned into it. Now, you don't have the resources to go to leadership training. There's a million books. Go get any of John Maxwell's 60 books on leadership, right? There are ways you can build your leadership skills. Talk about it with your peers, right? Talk about leadership with your peers to start that road of developing that skill. And I think we're at the after party. I don't know if Tiffany's here. I don't know if we're still recording. We're at the after party.